It's sometimes said that history is written by the victor. What we know about early motion pictures comes to us as a very limited and fragile record, and the record is far from complete. There was a studio which produced over 1,000 films with many of the most popular stars of the time, yet you may have never heard of it before. When movies were new, so new that no one was really sure that they had a future at all, people made films all over the country, not just in Hollywood. My hometown had a film company nicknamed the Flying A, and the films that were made there were seen as far away as Europe and Australia. The studio was even the town's biggest employer. But today, few know that the most promising young star of 1916 made 26 films at the studio, or that 2 of the most controversial films of the day were produced there, or that for a brief, special moment, it was the best equipped place to make movies in the entire country. By 1920, more Americans lived in the city than on the farm, and women had finally gained the right to vote. The consumer was king, and the worries over another type of consumption had led to prohibition. The world had fought a war to end all wars, and the moving picture business had grown into an industry. But 10 years earlier, the movie world was anything but stable. Audiences seemed to double nearly every month. There was big money to be made with this new technology, and those who had created the machinery combined to protect their investment through something they called the Motion Picture Patents Company. The Patents Company was known as the Trust. The Trust attempted to control the new medium by issuing licenses to anyone wanting to produce or exhibit moving pictures.
In reaction to the Motion Picture Patents Company were a number of people who we call the independents. Without a patents company, they wouldn't be independent. Their interest was not in manufacturing machines. In fact, their initial interest was not even in manufacturing films. Their interest was in hawking the films, selling the films. And so they began in film exchanges. They began in distribution. And what they used were the illegal products from the patents company.
Samuel Hutchinson was one of the independents. His Chicago exchange had been illegally distributing Patents Company films, but the supply was drying up. If Hutchinson and his associates planned to stay in business, they'd need more product, and they'd need staff to make it. Another Chicago company was S&A. As a licensed member of the Trust, S&A had the staff Hutchinson wanted. And in October of 1910, Sam began making his own movies. Hutchinson's American Film Manufacturing Company was known as the Flying A. The trademark Winged A would become internationally known during the next few years. But in 1910, the company started off with a hijacked crew.
On a Friday afternoon, S&A had producers, directors, cameramen, etc., and they came in Monday morning and no one was there. They moved down the street to open the American Film Manufacturing Company, and it all happened that quickly. The people who were involved in this were really very, very typical of the kinds of people who got interested in the first decade in making movies. The acting talent were people who, through some kind of an accident, through some kind of last-ditch effort, whatever, said, what is to be lost? I'll stand in front of a camera and move my hands around, and if they pay me money, I haven't got another job anyway, so I'll do it.
Yet Hutchinson's new staff, both in front and behind the camera, was experienced. They were the first generation of filmmakers.
I have just had the pleasure of viewing several positive prints, and I can consistently say that I was extremely pleased. And I unhesitatingly assert that the film being manufactured by our company will create an epoch in the progress of the independent cause.
The trade papers supported Hutchinson's claim.
Moving Picture World, December 10th, 1910. We are pleased indeed to have the news of the progress of the American Film Manufacturing Company, Chicago, which is very highly spoken of as already taking a foremost position in the ranks of the independent manufacturers. To show the company's enterprise, they have organized the largest moving picture acting company west of the Mississippi. This company is to make pictures in and around the settlement of Old Santa Fe in the state of New Mexico.
But the members of the Patents Company kept a close watch on the independents.
February 1st, 1911. My dear Billy, I got the full lineup on the situation at Santa Fe yesterday. Mr. Stanton told me that the American bunch had rows among themselves quite frequently, and all sorts of trouble in making pictures. The release of December 8th, called Two Lucky Gems, was the one he ran, and he said it was absolutely the worst he had ever seen. After scrapping round in Santa Fe, the bunch got disgusted and went to Tucson. But from the information I can gather, the outfit broke up quite recently on account of internal troubles. Yours very truly, H. Buckwalter, Denver Film Exchange.
Two Lucky Gems, like most of the Flying A's early product, is no longer available to speak for itself. But the Western Company didn't break up. They kept on shooting, while the Chicago office kept promoting the films to an eager public. Samuel Hutchinson had big plans for his Flying A, but reports from the Western unit were scarce and the flow of films back to Chicago was sporadic. He sent scenario writer Alan Dwan out to get things organized.
When I was sent to California to find this company, I found them down in San Juan Capistrano without a director. So I wired back to the office. I said, recommend you disband this company. You have no director. And they wired back, you direct. So I called the actors together. I said, you're out of work or I'm a director. Take your choice. And they thought a while. They said, you're the best damn director we ever saw.
Dwan began learning to direct, while also supplying the scripts. With no studio, it was all location work. He'd use up the scenery, then move the company to a new locale.
That's the way we made our dramas. Whatever we saw that was interesting, we photographed and said, well, why did it happen? Who caused it?
The Western troupe would finally settle down in a town near San Diego called La Mesa. The company output grew to 2 films a week. The Flying A brand now meant Westerns, but Dwan's group wasn't set up for more than production. All theater prints still had to be made back east.
In those days out here, we seldom even saw the pictures we made. I used to see a little piece of the negative that I'd hold up and look at, just a few frames that the cameraman would take out from his test. But never a print. But we did make them, and lots of them. I made about 2 a week, and took the weekend off in Los Angeles, seeing sights and playing around.